5-year contract. It's just, I bring it up only because who cares, Scott? It's just Jaren Jackson Jr., good player. Don't get me wrong. $50 million a year. You know, we all bitch and complain about the Juan Soto deals and the Ohtani deals, and you get guys like Jaren Jackson making $50 million a year.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
There's now 7 different directors of analytics for like the Raptors, the Chiefs, where you can see us all like workshopping these ideas in these threads because golf is so ubiquitous amongst gamblers. And so that was like the most popular non-poker forum was the golf sub-forum. And then once we started thinking about once I realized in 2013 that Brody's book was coming out, I just thought stroke chain putting was it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm saying I like their odds because I think they're insane at this point, but I do think they are a very viable option.
I don't even think their odds are that insane, honestly. They won 64 games.
So you like this move for them?
Well, so the odds...
Regardless of the odds, just from a basketball.
Yeah, the odds have nothing to do with it. They won 64 games. They were eliminated by the Pacers, who lost Halliburton. The other 60-win team was the Celtics, and they lost Tatum. Like I think,
and the Knicks don't have a coach.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
You want to take that gap year and trade LeBron James somewhere and get value, legitimate value for a 41-year-old player, LeBron James, I still think, in return. I think you have to explore that because if LeBron wants to win a title, we've heard so much buzz for, I think, 3 or 4 years now, Kevin, about Stephen Curry and LeBron James wanting to eventually play together. This might be that moment here. If you're the Golden State Warriors, why not make that call? I think that's something to watch out for.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you to hour number 3, our third and final, not only on this Thursday, but our final hour of the week. We're off tomorrow. Like all of you, it's a holiday weekend. It's America's birthday. It is the 4th of July. We'll be kind of in that mind frame here throughout most of this third and final hour. We'll talk America's pastime ahead of America's birthday. We have a full slate Friday, but still plenty of games on this Thursday around the Major League Baseball diamond to break down from the brilliant baseball mind of one Donnie Rightside. And we'll also talk some hot dogs to start off this third and final hour. We had the reigning mustard belt champion at the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest, Patrick Bertoletti, on the show yesterday, who took advantage in the absence of Joey Jaws Chestnut. Of course, a big story. Chestnut not there on the corner of Surf and Stillwell on Coney Island a year ago. But Chestnut, the GOAT, is set to return. We'll break down the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest here to start off hour number 3 and some NBA headlines this offseason with Bryan Fonseca later on to round out the show.
Just own the night like the 4th of July. Like, I think that's what the people wanted out there. Getting ready for the fireworks tomorrow on July 4th and a complete Major League Baseball schedule tomorrow. I will certainly be enjoying that, but also, like, it's un-American if you don't have a glizzy tomorrow, Ben, isn't it? Like, you have to watch the competition, and then again, maybe you enter in a competition, but you must have at least one. And by the way, man, a fresh potato roll bun, good hot dog on there, some sauerkraut, some relish, some spicy mustard. Like, man, a good hot dog is really, really good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. Definitely having myself at least one glizzy tomorrow.
No doubt about it, man. You got to have a hot dog on the 4th of July or you are not doing things right. We hope you are enjoying it in a backyard for a barbecue with friends, family, maybe by some water, a pool, a beach, whatever it might be, to enjoy the warm weather on the 4th of July. DRS, there's always the conversation, right? When we talk about the hot dog eating contest and you have your friends like, I could do that. I could put down 30 dogs. I could put down 30 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes, or heck, I could probably do 5, 10, something of the sort. So we wanted to ask the people, Just how many hot dogs do you think you could eat in the 10-minute span that the hot dog eating contest takes place within? That was the question to you all in Fade the Public. And we wanted to make it rather simple. Do you think that you would be able to eat 10 hot dogs in 10 minutes? It's 10 minutes at the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest. That is your allotted time here as well. It's a dog a minute. It doesn't sound all that challenging. So what do the people think? Actually really proud of the public for being honest with themselves. More than 71% saying no chance would I be able to eat 10 hot dogs in 10 minutes. Or perhaps, I'm sure a part of that 71.5% DRS saying, I don't even want to try to eat 10 hot dogs in 10 minutes. I voted no. I know my limitations. I want to enjoy my food thoroughly as well. Which way did DRS vote in the Fade the Public poll?
Yeah, I voted no as well, because sometimes you have to, because I've never tried it before, but like you try to visualize like the 10 hot dogs, 10 buns in front of you, and they say, I probably could do that, but in 10 minutes? Now, understand this too. Like your body has like a reflex function where it's like, you ever been really hungry and you just eat and eat and eat and eat, and all of a sudden your body catches up and go, whoa. How much are you going to eat here at this point now? So I understand, and also the metric of the game we're playing, if it understands this. Like if they said, hey, Ben, 10 hot dogs in 10 minutes, $5 million cash, we would all be able to do it, because you would just be like, I don't care what happens to me, but in the next 10 minutes, these hot dogs are going to be eaten. But if you just say, hey, backyard, let's do this for fun, boy, that's a lot of hot dogs in 10 minutes. 10 for the day? Yes, you can do that. 3 for breakfast, 3 for lunch, 4 for dinner. And you say, you know what? I've had some time to digest and I'm hungry again. But 10 in 10 minutes is crazy, because I know people can knock down 2, 3, and 4. But then once you get to like number 5 and you start to get a little bit tired, it's like, I don't know about eating hot dogs. Like eat a whole pizza, like 8 slices in 10 minutes. That's even like the 10-minute threshold is hard, because you are just constantly trying to mow that down and you can't take your time. You know what I mean? So for me, I think I could do in 10 minutes 5 hot dogs, but 10 hot dogs, there's absolutely zero chance at that.
Completely agree. I could probably scarf down 3 in 10 minutes, just like eating a hot dog in the normal way that I would consume a hot dog rather quickly, but then I'd be good, right? And the way that these competitive eaters actually do it is not the way that you nor I nor anybody consumes a hot dog. They break up the glizzies, they dunk them in water, they dunk all the buns, they stuff their face, they're chewing, they're eating, they're moving, they're doing everything. I don't care if it grosses you out. You better be watching tomorrow at the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest. It is American to start your 4th of July watching a bunch of people, ladies and men, consume as many glizzies as possible.
By the way, and I want to revise this. I can eat 5 in 10 minutes, bun and hot dog with a little bit of mustard. I couldn't eat a half of the hot dog if I had to wet that bun and eat it. I wouldn't be able to. The gag reflex would be so strong on dipping a bun in. I'm getting the gag reflex right now. I'm not even eating the hot dog.
Don't think about it. Don't think about it too much.
Like, exactly.
Don't think about it
like, if you just had like a beverage that you were drinking, fine. I could do 5.
Come on, man.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
my
like,
God.
honestly, like, thinking of people like I don't know how they do that. It's so repulsive at that point. Look at that. What's that? Wings?
Also,
is that hot dog?
That's the fake one from last week. That's not even Joey.
That's a cheeseburger.
On Coney Island.
Cheeseburger.
How
about the cheeseburger?
I mean, you got to give a trigger warning before you're throwing up these images. Joey Chestnut, by the way, of course, was not there last year, DRS, but he won the 8 previous hot dog eating contests. He has won 16 of the last 17 mustard belts. He is the GOAT for a reason. But do not forget about Miki Sudo on the other side in the women's competition. She has won 10 straight that she competed in. The only year that she has not won it was in 2021 when she was pregnant, giving birth to her child. She is the absolute GOAT in terms of dominance in the women's hot dog eating contest. And last year on Coney Island set a women's record with 51. Joey Chestnut set the record back in 2021 with 76. And DRS, it was great having Pat Bertoletti, the reigning champ, on the show yesterday. But he told us in so many words, it's nice being the reigning champ for a few more hours because Chestnut is back. He is minus 1,800 versus the field. You see minus 1,350 there, courtesy of our friends at the Canadian FanDuel Sportsbook.
Yeah, backing it up there, minus 1,350, a heavy favorite. And again, the gag reflux there. Like, you have to complete it and not, like, give it all back at the end, if you will, at this point, which is part of the reason they eat so many hot dogs. And also understand this, though. Like, Patrick was talking about us yesterday, like, rightfully so. Like,
yeah.
Hey, man, we eat all those hot dogs, and then it's really tough for the next day and a half. Indigestion, and you ain't leaving the house and all that stuff. Like, that's the thing we don't wear. And also, being a competitive eater, like, you have to build up to it. It's not like, hey, you know what? Took the last month off, didn't eat all that much. Like, you have to probably eat tons of hot dogs and tons of food to stretch the stomach out all month long. So it's like, man, what type of training regimen is that? And can you, like, hey, meet me at the bar, go out with my friends? Like, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, man. So I'm in training mode, people.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Also, great work with the grill rolls today and all of the images that we saw. Joey Chestnut stuffing his face. An old-timey Coney Island and a look at Nathan's Famous. Doesn't get better than that here on Sports.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
On the 4th of July in the greater New York City area, out on Coney Island, the corner of Surf and Stillwell, of course, that is the Nathan's Famous hot dog eating contest.
Coney
also on the 4th of Coney Island, don't call it. Listen, Coney Island takes a lot of flack.
Now.
It's a great place. It is a wonderful place
Now, why does it
filled
take
with
flack?
happiness.
Why does it take a lot of flack? Explain yourself, Ben. Huh? Why?
It's not the greatest beach in the world, right? And there's a A lot of crazy things you see with your very own two eyes there.
Now, what do you see?
On Coney Island?
What do you tell me you see? I've never been to Coney. Like, what do you see at Coney Island? What are you talking about?
You just see some interesting
game?
folk.
You know what I mean? What do we got?
I mean, they're out there shaking and doing things, and it's it's not the greatest beach in the world, but it's still a great time. And I love walking around the boardwalk. You can bring beers with you as you walk down the boardwalk. I recommend everybody go to. I've been on the Cyclone, and I've been to a Cyclones
I've been to
game.
Coney Island.
Brooklyn Cyclones, the single A affiliate of the New York Mets. Great stadium. You can get a baseball bat.
You been to the aquarium?
Beer. I'm not going to do that hand motion I just did. What?
Have you ever been to the aquarium on Coney Island?
No, I've never been to the aquarium, but I know it's a draw.
Yeah, it's big time.
Are you an aquarium guy?
Let's go back to, I think I'm going to say spring of 1998. Spring of 1998. Yeah. I think I was there. Yeah. How about that?
1998, Coney Island Aquarium. All right, let's get back to our actual job. That's talking about sports. And speaking of Coney Island, where the Mets single A affiliate plays, and what we will have on the 4th of July in New York, our second rendition of the Subway Series this year between the Yankees and the Mets. Both teams entering, not playing great baseball, and both teams one final game of their midweek sets. Fourth and final for the Yanks up in Toronto against the Blue Jays. Third and final after playing two yesterday for the Mets against the Brewers at Citi Field, where they will be this weekend. The Mets, despite losing 14 of their last 18 games, still better than the Yankees by a half game, really a full game in that win column, 49 and 38. The Yanks have now dropped 13 of their last 19. They no longer are in the lead by themselves in the American League East. DRS, neither team playing well at the tail end of June. How do you feel about where these two teams stand at the moment?
Okay. I feel okay about it. Am I in love with where they've been? No, because quite frankly, both of them look like they were in a position to maybe run away with their divisions and gotten caught and surpassed at this point. And the AL East is ultra competitive. The NL East is the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets going toe-to-toe the rest of the summer. But you have so many different teams now. And quite frankly, like the AL East, it's like, okay, it's up for grabs, and the Orioles are not even like an afterthought in that division. It's kind of crazy. But playing good baseball now, Toronto, playing good baseball, like Tampa, even Boston is starting to wake up and say, hey, guys, we might be at 500 sooner than later. But for me, it's expectations that were not exceeded, because they would be if the Yanks had a 5-game lead, or that's to say the Mets had a 5-game lead. They're right where we probably thought they would be in the mix here, but where we were to where we are now, you get sort of a downgrade on both of these teams right now. That's all. But they're playing decent baseball.
There's no doubt about it.
Ask for. Yeah.
Yeah, New York 2 games back of Philadelphia for the top spot in the National League East. The Yanks have lost all 3 games so far this week against the Blue Jays, and because of that, have squandered their lead in the American League East. When you look at those divisions, the Yanks still the favorites at -155. The Phils a -240 price, and the Mets back at +185. We are past the midway point of this season, but still a ton of baseball to play. 48 and 38 for the Yankees. That's 86 games out of 162. The Mets, 87 out of 162. A lot of ground to be made up the remainder of this year. And still the overall outlook, DRS, the Yanks are still the favorites. Co-favorites now, though, to win the American League pennant at +280 alongside the Detroit Tigers. And even with the Mets' struggles, they still have that fourth best price around the NL at +650, only a half buck back of the Chicago Cubs. Before we get to the Subway Series in Queens this weekend, the first one, by the way, at Yankee Stadium, the Mets dropped 2 of 3 against the Yanks. The Pinstripes winning that with home field advantage. One final game for both of these teams today as a part of our Thursday slate to end out their midweek sets. We start in Queens, where the Mets will play host to the Milwaukee Brewers. A doubleheader yesterday. The Mets got beat bad in the opener, 14th loss in the last 17 games. They responded in a big way against Jacob Mizorowski and Milwaukee in the final game of the night. So the Mets tonight, DRS, as we look at it, home favorite, -162 against the Brew Crew, over-under at 8. A quick 3-game series with the doubleheader yesterday. Who takes the rubber match?
There's no excuses here for the New York Mets not to win this baseball game because you're just looking at pure analytics. You got 19 pitchers on the card today with a minimum of 10 innings pitched over the past 45 days. You know who's dead last in xFIP? It's Jose Quintana on the mound. It's a 137 xFIP minus, which again, 100 is the baseline. Below that is good for a pitcher. Anything above that, you're not that good, and he's not that good. An ERA of 4.15 and an xFIP number of 5.55. You should hit just because he's that pitcher on the mound. And why? Because he doesn't strike anybody out and he's susceptible to left-handed bats, even though you're going to get a lot of right-handed batters, which is the anomaly you have to buy into. Like, what do you trust more? A veteran pitcher that doesn't give up hard contact and tries to keep the ball on the ground. But you take a look at his last, because I'm going to bring up just his last, let's just say 30 days for Quintana against right-handed batters, which would be the focal point, 12% strikeout rate. Walk rate 13%. That means the ball's going to be in play or he's going to get free walks here at 337 weighted on base percentage, which is slightly above average. It's up to the Mets right-handed bats to control this game. Peterson is a better pitcher than Quintana. That is a heavy favorite for a reason. The Mets should win this game, but I always find myself like, it's like, you know, Tyler Anderson for the Angels. Like, how did he get anybody out? Yeah. And how did he go 5 innings pitched and no earned runs? Other than those expectations, trusting the numbers, Quintana should get hit today, and the Mets should be the better team.
Jose Quintana last year, of course, pitching for the New York Mets. Yeah. David Peterson has been one of the guys this year as a part of that starting rotation for New York that has probably exceeded expectation, and that's starting to maybe come down a little bit for New York. Again, the Mets finally a win last night in the nightcap at Citi Field of the doubleheader against the Brew Crew, just their 4th since June 12th. They are hoping now in July to build up some momentum this week, entering that Subway Series at home against the New York Yankees. The Mets will remain in Flushing. The Yankees have to travel from Toronto back to the Big Apple. Will they do so after being swept by the Jays in 4 games? Find out next.
Let's get down to business with the particulars. The Pittsburgh Steelers will get Jalen Ramsey into their defensive backfield. They'll get Jonnu Smith.
All this talk I'm hearing about they're going to trade TJ Watt, that's not happening either. Okay, so I don't think that's even remotely in the cards. All this talk today, he's next. I don't believe that. I think they're going to give him a new deal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
9 times out of 100, when you get a gift for the boys in Vegas, what happens? The dude doesn't even get out in the first inning. I feel bad for him. He gave up 7 runs, 5 earned, but 7 runs in total, 5 hits, walked 2, didn't strike out a batter, and like I said, didn't get out of the first inning, got 1 out. I don't know how they do, Joe, but I'm telling you, those lines didn't make any sense.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a 6th man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
What is going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
How about I answer your question with a question, Kev?
Okay.
What could possibly go wrong?
I would say it's possible that you somehow, in bringing in Aaron Rodgers, which is supposed to be a win-now move, look around at your team and go, wait, Pickens, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and TJ Watt aren't on it anymore?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
A 10-game slate on this Thursday around Major League Baseball. Frankly, a lot of games before we get to a full slate Friday for America's pastime on America's birthday, that being the 4th of July. And everybody wrapping up a midweek set before they find a new destination or remain in the same place for their weekend series over the holiday weekend. DRS, the Yankees are happy to get out of Canada and back to America for the holiday weekend. A Subway Series on deck against the New York Mets at Citi Field. But the Yanks are trying to leave the Great White North with a win. They have lost the first 3 games of this 4-game midweek set against the Blue Jays, and because of it, Toronto is now tied atop the American League East alongside the Pinstripes. Today, New York looking to avoid the sweep. They turn to Clark Schmidt, minus 124, a favored money line price in favor of New York to avoid the 4-game sweep. Total 8.5. Is that what is going to occur in Toronto? Will the Yankees at least pick up 1 win in this 4-game set?
It should. By the way, it feels like it does feel like a coin flip, and you see the price point there where the Yankees are the favorite, maybe rightfully so. Look at Clark Schmidt here over the past 45 days, a 98 xFIP minus, which is okay. How about a 2.20 ERA, which you really like that, a higher xFIP number of 4.04. But how about Chris Bassett? He's got a 100 xFIP minus, which is rate average. So, okay, 98 on one side, 100 on the other, bringing all the ballpark factors in that we like to see. But how about Chris Bassett's ERA over the past 45 days, Ben? 5.65, xFIP number 4.08. So sometimes getting maybe a little bit unlucky at this point here. And Bassett going up against a team Ben Rice should be able to hit. Aaron Judge should be able to hit. You take a look at Jazz Chisholm as well. But when I line up Chris Bassett, he's okay. So a slight nod to the Yankees. But Clark Schmidt on the mound, look at his last 122 batters that he faced. 115 ISO, 217 weighted on base percentage against. I really like that. But I also told you during this show, boy, those Toronto bats, man, they are really alive at this point right now. And sometimes we talked about the Marlins, which I was wrong on. Hey, ride it out. They lost 2-1 there, trying to win another game in that long win streak. Toronto's hot. They're at home. They just have the Yankees number. Maybe you lean on that direction. Slightly better pitching for me on the Yankees side, but how do you just put down a Toronto team that came all the way back, stormed the fort? It's like, hey, or excuse me, had that big lead, but still was able to hold on by a blown save there, a blown hold, I should say, by Devin Williams. Maybe just go with the Toronto Blue Jays today. It's a tough handicap, which is why you see that split right down the middle in the odds price.
12 wins on Canada Day for the Blue Jays on Tuesday. 12 runs, I should say. 11 runs scored yesterday. Toronto, the most overs in Major League Baseball. 57.8% of their games, the highest over percentage in the bigs. All right, let's fly around the rest of this 10-game slate. On this Thursday, we go now to the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. The Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Guardians. DRS Cleveland hurting right now. They have dropped 6 games in a row, not expected to snap that skid against the Cubbies today. Minus 162 the price in Wrigley. Total stands at 8.5. What do you like today inside the friendly confines?
I believe it's Joey Cantillo, I want to say. I don't think it's Cantillo, the lefty on the mound. He hasn't pitched in a while in Major League Baseball. His last tune-up start in AAA baseball didn't work out in his favor. So I look at this and I think the Cubs should be able to hit, even though you know me, Ben. I like to take a look at least 45 days, 30 days of some sort of Major League Baseball pitching, 20, 25 innings. He doesn't have that. But I don't think that's a detriment to the Cubs where it's like, oh, they've never seen this guy and he's a flamethrower. That's not the case. Cleveland on the other side, going up against Cade Horton. You have a lot of switch hitters in that lineup, and they have hit very well against right-handed pitching. And if you take a look at Horton, he's done not so well against right-handed bats, but there will be many lefties in the lineup. Cleveland stinks right now, but I got to tell you, I see the 8.5 we're at Wrigley and the temperature's at 80 degrees and the wind not really blowing in or out, more of a crosswind. You know what? I'm banking on runs in this game. If I don't have 2 pedigree pitchers in Wrigley and I think those lineups can hit, why can't we get at least most teams approaching 3 to 4 runs apiece? That puts you in that ballpark. Over 9 today in Wrigley for me, even though the Guardians, I don't know what they're doing in 2025.
Chicago looking for the sweep today of Cleveland. They have won 5 of their last 7. They get the Cardinals for a second time this year tomorrow at Wrigley Field over the holiday weekend. 4th and final game, DRS, between other divisional mates from the NL West, the Giants and the D-backs. Arizona taking the first 2 of this series in Phoenix. The Giants winning in extras last night in 10 innings. Who wins the 4th and final game tonight in Arizona?
Yeah, fault's bad. So we just go right against him. And you know me, Robbie Ray's having a decent season, even though he's a little bit leaky against right-handed batters. Going to face a ton of them tonight. The 8.5 might be in peril tonight, but I got to tell you, if I just had to pick a side, I'd lean San Francisco. But we might be able to get the 9 runs in this game because the matchups make a lot of sense for both of these hitters.
DRS, Brandon Falk got off to a great start this year. He's won 8 games, but man, he's been getting shelled here as of late.
Yes.
Gave up 16 earned runs in 5 starts in the month of June. Plenty more around the bigs next.
Five-year contract. It's just, I bring it up only because who cares, Scott? It's just mine. Jaren Jackson Jr., good player. Don't get me wrong. $50 million a year. You know, we all bitch and complain about the Juan Soto deals and the Ohtani deals, and you get guys like Jaren Jackson making $50 million a year.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
There's now 7 different directors of analytics for like the Raptors, the Chiefs, where you can see us all like workshopping these ideas in these threads because golf is so ubiquitous amongst gamblers. And so that was like the most popular non-poker forum was the golf sub-forum. And then once we started thinking about once I realized in 2013 that Brody's book was coming out, I just thought stroke chain putting was it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Saying I like their odds because I think they're insane at this point, but I do think they are a very viable option.
I don't even think their odds are that insane, honestly. They won 64 games.
So you like this move for them?
Well, so the odds...
Regardless of the odds, just from a basketball.
Yeah, the odds have nothing to do with it. They won 64 games. They were eliminated by the Pacers, who lost Halliburton. The other 60-win team was the Celtics, and they lost Tatum. Like I think...
And the Knicks don't have a coach.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
You want to take that gap year and trade LeBron James somewhere and get value, legitimate value for a 41-year-old player, LeBron James, I still think, in return. I think you have to explore that because if LeBron wants to win a title, we've heard so much buzz for, I think, 3 or 4 years now, Kevin, about Stephen Curry and LeBron James wanting to eventually play together. This might be that moment here. If you're the Golden State Warriors, why not make that call? I think that's something to watch out for.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
We continue breaking down this 10-game slate around Major League Baseball on a Thursday entering the holiday weekend and a full Friday slate for 4th of July. DRS, the Mariners, another win last night for Seattle. No home runs at a big dumper, but a 3-2 victory for the M's against the Royals. Another team in KC out of the American League Central, struggling as of late. It is why the Tigers, with the best record in the AL, also have a 12.5 game lead atop the AL Central. Tonight in Seattle, it's the Mariners and the Royals once again. Minus 124, that price in favor of the M's. Pretty low total. 7 is now 7.5. What do you like tonight in this Seattle showdown?
Yeah, it's so hard sometimes in Seattle. You get 2 decent pitchers on the mound. It's like, this game is going to go under. But having said that, though, you look at the, current season statistics as opposed to the last 30 days, they don't change that much for Seattle. Like, some of those bats really show up against right-handed pitching. But understand this, Lugo's last 114 batters that he's faced, Ben, an 0.61 ISO and a 221 weighted on base percentage and a K rate of 27%. Even though Crawford, Rowley, Arozarena, Rayleigh, and also Canzone have really good statistics against righties, Lugo's been really good over the past 30 days. Bryan Wu, who does struggle with left-handed batters, so you know who we go to in that lineup right away. We'll get to that in a moment. But against right-handed batters on the season and the past 30 days, he's been really good. So the focal point will be like, who can we get down with as a left-handed batter? Vinny Pasquantino in the middle of that lineup. You might even look lower, like Jack Caglione, Rave and Isbell. They haven't hit right-handed pitching all that well. So it's almost like, okay, if lefties get the best of Bryan Wu, the only guy viable in that lineup is Vinny Pasquantino for an RBI. And that's the reason why we're talking about a game at 7 and 7.5. There's not a lot to love on the matchup tonight, which in a ballpark that's hard to score runs in, you take your spots there at a decent RBI from here or there. But to me, again, if that's 7.5, I don't think we get 8 runs tonight. I don't.
A 4-game set, Seattle looking for the series win, taking 3 of 4. KC trying to split. No Cal Raleigh last night in the lineup, by the way. Had the day off. He did hit a home run in the opening game of this series against Kansas City. 33 long balls, 4 big dumpers so far this year. Still now 2 in front of Aaron Judge, who hit home run number 31 last night as the Yankees were trying to come back. It was that tying 2-run shot in the 8th. A couple of nights prior, Shohei Ohtani, home run number 30. Those are the 3 guys at 30 home runs this year around Major League Baseball. Eugenio Suarez at 26. Same for the Schwarber, Kyle Schwarber there in Philadelphia. All right, DRS, that 8-game win streak for Miami snapped yesterday. It was their longest win streak in 17 years. Can they start a new one today? Early game, just afternoon Eastern time in South Florida. The Marlins and the Twins in Miami. Minnesota, an ever so slight favorite at -116 on the road. Total now at 8.5. What's the play for some day baseball in South Florida?
Yeah, it's a shame we had the 2-1 yesterday. Sort of took the steam out of the bats here for the Marlins and also the steam out of that win streak. But I got to tell you, like outside of the ballpark, which again, we just started to take a look at Seattle. Boy, T-Mobile, hard to hit home runs and score a lot of runs. Well, you head down to Lone Depot Park in South Florida. It's not a great ballpark either. However, you got 2 good pitchers that might be able to hold up their end of the bargain on helping you score 8 or more runs. You take a look at David Festa, his last 45 days, a 114 xFIP minus and an ERA, just to be comparable, 7.61. Yuri Perez, you take a look at him. He's 18th out of 19 pitchers on the card with a 131 xFIP minus band and a 6.19 ERA over his last 45 days. Guys in the lineup that have really hit right-handed pitching well here for the Minnesota Twins, Buxton, Larnach, Lee, Wallner, and Lewis. And then we flip over to Miami, which you speak, we can't really take too many players there. No. Sanchez, Lopez, Ramirez, and Stowers, all with high weighted on base percentages and ISO power numbers. So even though that ballpark last night only gave up 3 runs, today, both of these pitchers with their xFIP minuses being over 100, it's a pretty good matchup. You just need to get started off early here, right? You don't want to get to the 3rd inning with nobody scored. Give me a run in the 1st. Give me 2 in the 2nd here, and away you go. We should get an over just based on these pitchers, even if we're pitching in a really good pitcher's ballpark today for both of those guys who are struggling.
Rubber match today, DRS. The Twins lost the first one 2-zip. That was the 8th consecutive win for the Fish. All 8, by the way, as an underdog, of which they are once again today. Minnesota winning yesterday 2-1. Carlos Correa, what turned out to be the game-winning RBI in the 4th inning. Low scoring so far. The Twins, by the way, 9-18 in June. Lost their first game of July, won their second. Hoping to take the rubber match today in Miami. Let's go to Atlanta now. A little bit later on in the day, it's the Braves and the Angels once again. Bryce Elder gets the nod for Atlanta. They're a -152 home money line favorite. Those lines increasing in favor of the Braves at home. Over-under stands at 9. East versus West, kind of east, southeast Atlanta. The Braves taking on the Angels today. What do you like?
Yeah, by the way, you take a look at Elder, not a very good pitcher for me. Over his last 45 days, he does have an average xFIP number of a 99 at xFIP minus, but his ERA is 8.25. And by the way, take a look at his equal opportunity guy that gets hit by both lefties and righties. Yeah, that's him. Zach Neto, Noah Shanuel. You take a look at Mike Trout, Taylor Ward, Joe Adell, even Kevin Newman in that lineup, all high weighted on base percentages and ISO power numbers against right-handed pitching. But by the way, like yesterday, you said I needed over 3.5 for the Angels. They scored 2 runs in the first inning. They ended up with 3 runs. And it wasn't until a Jorge Soler solo shot, in the 9th inning to get them that 3rd run. But Jose Soriano, let me just give you a little bit of piece of what he's doing this season, Ben. 418 batters faced, an ISO against 071. His last 30 days in ISO against 083. He's been fantastic. What if I told you he's number 2 on the card today with an xFIP minus of 82? Even though his ERA is high at 4.60, his xFIP number brings that back down to a 3.38. A strikeout pitcher and a ground ball pitcher. I don't want to say the wrong team is favored today, but give me the +118 price on the Angels. The better pitcher on the mound and a lineup that should be able to hit Elder. Why not go for the small upset?
A rubber match today in Atlanta, DRS. The Halos, as you mentioned, did play 2 in the top of the first, a 2 RBI single for Joe Adell. They had that 2-0 lead into the 6th. Sean Murphy hit a 3-run shot, and then a couple of batters later, with the bases jacked, a grand salami out of Matt Olson. Jurickson Profar, first game after serving the 80-game suspension for PEDs. Still some juice. I say that tongue-in-cheek, with a solo shot as well in his first game back. At a certain point, DRS, the Braves are going to have to go on a run. They are 39-46. They are 7 games below 500. They have dropped 5 of their last 7. They need to go on a 6, 7, 8-game win streak to really get back into playoff contention around the National League. The best record in the NL, that would be the LA Dodgers. Looking for the sweep this week of the Chicago White Sox. Historic night in Los Angeles yesterday. Clayton Kershaw, pitching into the 6th inning, records his 3,000th career strikeout, 20th ever pitcher in MLB history to receive that distinction. And then they rallied in the 9th inning, plating 3 runs and walking it off, courtesy of Freddie Freeman and the RBI single to beat the Sox. Close to a $3 favorite price today, DRS, in favor of LA, minus 290. Dustin May gets the start. Over under is 9. Will the Dodgers complete the sweep over the White Sox this week?
You're supposed to beat the White Sox. That's why you're going to get these heavy price points here. But also, you don't have a shutdown pitcher. It's not like you're throwing your ace on the mound. It's Dustin May. You take a look at his pitching card today, 16th out of 19 pitchers. Look at his last 45 days. How about a 122 xFIP minus and an ERA, Ben? Close to 5, and an xFIP close to 5 as well. But then you have Aaron Savali on the mound on the opposite side, who's like, hey, get me out of town, and yeah, we'll trade you to the Chicago White Sox. He comes into this game 17th out of 19 pitchers himself here, and he's coming in with a 128 xFIP minus, a better ERA, but an xFIP of 5.19. So you're going to have 2 of the worst xFIP pitchers on the card today going toe-to-toe. Yeah, could get some runs in this game. We got 9 last night, and luckily doing that with a lot of Dodgers runs in the bottom of the 9th inning. I don't think it takes that long today. I'm trusting both teams at bats more than both teams pitchers. Why don't we get some early fireworks out there in Chavez Ravine?
Really good weekend set begins tomorrow, DRS, on the 4th of July at the Ravine. Dodgers and the Astros. Houston 17-9 in June. They're looking for a sweep today of the Rockies. They have started a perfect 2-0. LA has won 14 of its last 17. NBA summer headlines with Bryan Fonseca next.
Betting on the games and stuff, and I didn't always take the Expos. And there was a game once the Expos came back from like a 9-2 deficit in like the 9th inning. And on the post-game show, I got like 3,000 calls. The phone was blowing up. Morency, that was the greatest game in the last 10 years of the Expos. Awesome stuff. Hey, what do you think? I'm like, what I think? The Cubs suck.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Just have them put on that hat so the moment can be immortalized. Not Will Riley wearing the hat of the Utah Jazz when he is going to play for the Washington Wizards. It is so dumb. Stop it. You want to do official in terms of your draft tracking status? Fantastic. Switch the hats. Let the moments live. Let them be significant and special. Rant up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Put Pete Crow Armstrong on the mound to see what he does. Like, Ohtani, just by himself at the plate, is the best hitter in Major League Baseball. Let's just say, keep it in the National League at this point. He's the MVP. So I can't wait till he pitches 6 innings, gives up 5 earned runs. Time they go like, I don't know if he could be the MVP now. Oh, no, he's still hitting 300 with 45 jacks and just pitched 6 innings in a Major League Baseball game. And people are going to hold that against him.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Will Aaron Judge be at the top of the home run board in MLB? What say you?
Judge probably is going to hit 55, 58. Somewhere around there is be his number there. So I'll say I'm going to buy this. Aaron Judge will lead the major leagues in home runs this year. Listen, I'm not breaking news. I probably would take that every year. And when he plays these next couple until he's getting up there in age, until his bat does start to slow down.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
A few days into the full NBA offseason, since free agency began at 6 p.m. Eastern on Monday night, and there is so much to break down around the association summer. Drama filled with Bryan Fonseca live right here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid. Fonseca, as always, we appreciate your time. Thanks for being here before we get to the 4th of July.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right, so let's break it down. Fonseca, you live here in New York City. I would not call you a Knicks fan, but of course, you cover New York basketball with the best of them. And yesterday, finally, after a long and drawn-out process, the New York Knicks have a new head coach. A familiar name, Mike Brown, now will take over the reins inside Madison Square Garden. Given the context of the dismissal of Tom Thibodeau after New York reached the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 2.5 decades, we all thought that hire made by the Knicks would be big and splashy and can live on the marquee here in the Big Apple. So on a scale of 1 to 10, after they hire Mike Brown, Fonseca, how do you rate the decision?
It's cool. You know, it's nice.
4 or 5?
You know, it's probably a 7, something like that. Like, I don't know. And that's the thing. We just don't know. Like, I think Mike Brown's a good coach. I think Tom Thibodeau's a good coach. I'm not sure Mike Brown's a better coach, but the whole point is maybe he's a better coach for this roster. There's no way of knowing that's the case. What I can say about Mike Brown is he is the coach who brought the Sacramento Kings to the playoffs, that miserable franchise, after over 15 years of not getting to the postseason, somehow, some way, turned them into the best offense in the league. Now, they had the Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis. He had some pieces to work with, and he got the most out of them. And then the next year, they were a pretty good team, too, though they didn't make the playoffs. And then he just got fired this past year because they didn't get off to a great start. And then the Kings are the Kings, and despite having the best coach that they've had in a decade and a half, they just let him go. So it was what it was. They also let Mike Malone go, funny enough, before he went to Denver and later won a championship, although he had the best player in the world. This is going to be a very talented team that Mike Brown coaches. I don't know if they go together perfectly, and I'm curious to see how he sort of tries to get the most out of this Knicks roster. But this is the weird situation, guys, and I was saying this yesterday when we did a live stream on the Post channel and on my own YouTube channel at night. He's kind of walking into a situation where he's on the hot seat right away. And you don't see this very often in sports, where somebody walks into a job and it's like, yo, you're immediately on the hot seat. Like, if this is sideways by Christmas, like if they're 500 by Christmas, we're going to hear a lot of rumblings, especially in this city of all places.
It's a great segue, Brian, too, because you look at the New York Knicks, where it's usually like, yeah, the Knicks are good, but there's 4 or 5 teams ahead of them. We look at the FanDuel Sportsbook right now. The New York Knicks are the favorite in the Eastern Conference. So you're right. There is no grace period. Now, tell me what the pluses would be for Mike Brown on this roster, because they clearly think he should be the choice to get them over the hump, which means winning a conference championship and competing for an NBA championship. What can he do better than Tibbs did last year as a positive that Knicks fans can look forward to?
Well, ideally, they want him to be more adaptable to situations, be more malleable, so to speak. I would say Tom Thibodeau is a better version of the coach he was previously, whereas Mike Brown is slightly different because he didn't coach the Kings the same way he coached the Cavs, and obviously the same way he coached the Lakers, but it was impossible coaching that team apparently because that didn't last very long. But at the same time, he had his time as an assistant in Golden State. And I do think, for example, Kenny Atkinson benefited from that, because look at what happened in Cleveland this past year. Say what you want about the playoffs, and they were a little bit broken down at that point. But look at them going into next season. They're the favorites along with the Knicks in the Eastern Conference. So look at the Kenny Atkinson and Steve Kerr coaching tree, rather. But I think with Mike Brown, it's like, yeah, the adaptability, the willingness to play the young guys. Now, the young guys still have to earn it, but I think that's part of it too. And the willingness to play deeper rotations. I think that's what they're sort of looking for here.
And when you think about Tom Thibodeau, we know the jokes, but they're kind of the reality about how Tibbs constructs his team. You're going to play the starters a ton. It's not going to be the deepest rotation. If you are a bench player, your minutes might dwindle at any given time. They are hoping that Mike Brown is the right fit and, frankly, the right guy to get them to an NBA Finals, because that is kind of now the standard that the New York Knicks must occupy, which is an interesting situation when you had not even been to the Eastern Conference Finals in 25 seasons and have not been to the NBA Finals since a year before that in 1999. Now listed as the ever so slight favorites, Fonseca, to win the Eastern Conference. The team with the 8th best price, that would be the Milwaukee Bucks, a 20-1 number. The first big splash at NBA free agency, the acquisition of Miles Turner in the wave and stretch of Damian Lillard in the final $113 million owed to Dame over a next 5-year period. They kind of live in harmony, those two moves in one. Miles Turner now in Milwaukee. Damian Lillard now a free agent. How stunned were you by this move the Bucks pulled off about 48 hours ago?
It's one of the most insane things I've ever seen in sports. To waive and stretch $113 million to pay out Damian Lillard, which is going to count 14% of the cap this year down to like 11% of the cap in the final year projections wise, because we'll see what the cap actually is in a few years. But for the rest of the decade, you're going to be paying out north of $22 million in dead money every single season to Damian Lillard, who gets every dollar. And on top of that, he's going to get another deal because he's going to be one of the most sought after free agents now. He should sign a 2-year deal with somebody. I think rehab for a year. If he's able to play in March, okay, cool. But rehab for a year and then go somewhere next year and be a missing piece, so to speak. Maybe he's a rotation guy at that point. Maybe he's not like necessarily the 9-time All-Star that he's been, the 7-time All-NBA guy that he's been. Post-Achilles, he's going to be 35 in a couple weeks. Like, temper your expectations. But this is a crazy, legitimately insane move from the Bucks. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. And on top of that, I think the Giannis trade talks will be done for now, but check back in February and let's see, because if this thing doesn't work out, then we're right back where we started, and all that dead money is going to go on for the rest of the decade. Just nuts, nuts move.
DRS, we send you into the holiday weekend, my friend. Have a great time. Fonseca and I continue up next.
Lonzo Ball, I guess, Chicago, they've just, kind of had enough here. Traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. What do you make of him being healthy? You think there's a chance? I mean, that's kind of the key.
What you said with all these guys re-signing kind of speaks to the landscape of free agents this year. Most of the guys, there isn't that much money out there to be had. I think the Nets are the only team that actually have cap space and can sign anybody outright.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
You got swept by the Marlins. You got some issues here. They're struggling. Arizona having their issues as well here. What I want to see here is Arizona take the lead. All right, and then let's attack the Diamondbacks bullpen. That bullpen is horrific. It's a dumpster fire. All right, that bullpen is that bad. Hit it a couple times over the weekend. Once they're up, hit the bullpen. That bullpen's going to blow the game. That's a great in-game bet for the against the Diamondbacks.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I will keel over if they trade LeBron James to anyone. He is not leaving Los Angeles with all of his entertainment company, production studios, movies, TV shows, podcasts, everything that he does. This guy is stuck there like glue for the rest of his life. He's not leaving Los Angeles even when he's done playing.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Incredible run here for Suarez, but realistically speaking, Corbin Burns out. Corbin Carroll is out right now. This is not a contending team, especially in that division where you've got the Dodgers and the Padres and the Giants. It's just too much to bear. The Diamondbacks would be smart to let Jordan Lawler play every day, see what he is, and then probably move on from Suarez.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, so quickly, one final point here with Bryan Fonseca around the NBA summer. We'll take a bigger look at those NBA championship odds in just a matter of moments. I do want to ask you, Fonseca, about Miles Turner, his fit in the front court alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo. You said, for right now, it should quell maybe some of the trade speculation around Giannis. Come back in mid-February if things are not working out. What do you think the ceiling is for the Bucks in 2025-26 with the pairing of Giannis and Miles Turner?
I mean, the odds don't love him right now, which is interesting.
Right.
I probably like them slightly more than the odds, but I don't love them because they're essentially running it back and then putting in place Miles Turner for Brook Lopez. Miles Turner at this stage, maybe he's a supercharged Brook Lopez because he's younger, because he's better defensively, although I think it's fair, the criticisms that he's gotten in terms of not being defensively what he was a few years ago. He was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate 5 or 6 years ago, and he's not really that guy right now. Still a good defender, but not really that same guy. He'll be very good next to Giannis defensively, though. I have a good feeling about that. But we'll see. I mean, I do think the Bucks are frisky. I still think they need to do something else, and maybe they will because, I mean, they kind of have to at this point. But looking at the East, you can't count them out totally. They're not better than the Knicks. They're not better than the Cavs. They're not better than the Magic. I like the Hawks more too. And I think you could even talk about like this iteration of the Celtics or whatever, but I probably wouldn't. I would put the Bucks right there in that 5 spot maybe. But that's not to say they're going to be 5th entering, the actual playoffs, although they were this past year. Like they could get a higher seed. We'll see how injuries dictate things. But I think they're a good team. And if things break right, they're an if things break right team. Maybe I could see it.
8th best price currently around the Eastern Conference. The team that now has the 4th best odds to win the East, the Atlanta Hawks. A couple of weeks ago, right after the NBA Finals came to a close and Oklahoma City won their first championship in OKC for this Thunder franchise in 17 years. One of the main storylines we discussed, OKC so short compared to the other 29 NBA teams as you see on the board and in the Eastern Conference because of those significant injuries to stars. Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana, Jason Tatum in Boston, Darius Garland in Cleveland. So many questions to be answered. We asked Bryan Fonseca, if you had to highlight a team with some value perhaps in the Eastern Conference, who would that team be? And Fonseca said the Atlanta Hawks. A few days later, they pull off a 3-team trade to acquire Kristaps Porzingis, have a pretty good night in the draft, and then early in free agency, they add Nickeil Alexander-Walker as well. So that very long price, Fonseca, that you mentioned is no longer there. It's now plus 950 for Atlanta, 4th best price in the Eastern Conference. So Fonseca, I ask you, what did you know about the Hawks that we were all a little bit late to?
You could sort of look at a couple of things. One, I did hear that they would actually not trade Trae Young, which was out there, but also that, they were kind of looking around at some things. I didn't know they'd wind up with Porzingis. I didn't know that they'd wind up making some of the moves that they've since made. But it did have the feel of, this is going to be an ambitious front office. And for me, when it comes to projecting, predicting, betting, and things of that nature, I like looking at, okay, for futures especially, what front office do I expect to be aggressive? Because you have to look at these things. And Atlanta was one of those where you look at them and it's like, they're not trading Trae. So that means they're going to build around Trae and they're going to try to do it now because they kind of have to, because there's an extension question there and what's going to happen in terms of their future. Like if you just put all the puzzle pieces together and then also just maybe some minor intel on like, yeah, they're probably going to do some things. It just felt like the Hawks were at a good number there. And now I wouldn't play the number at 950, but I do think they're another if it breaks right team. But I think this is the best team that they've had with Trae Young. I think this is better than the team that they had that went to the Eastern Conference Finals to play the Milwaukee Bucks several years ago. That's not to say that they're absolutely going to outlast that team in terms of how far they go, because contextually, look at the injuries that year. Look at how the East played out. It was a weird year. This is projected to be a weird year too. But in terms of what they can do defensively, if Jalen Johnson could stay healthy, if we'll see what happens with Onyeka Okongwu, I think they had a good good first round pick, number 1 overall pick last year. Like, they're trending in the right direction. So I'm optimistic about what the Hawks can do in terms of winning at least the playoff series this year. But we'll see.
Bryan Fonseca, we thank you as always. Have a great holiday weekend. Same to all of you. We'll talk to you on Monday on the Early Line.